Okay, so most people have never actually met a true believer. Now, sure, we've read stories about believers, we know that true believers exist, but we hardly ever see them. Well, Be Holy is a podcast that shines light on the behaviors, the mindset, and the duties of a believer, so that we can recognize God's children even when they don't look like God's children. Yeah, it's a bit of a process.
Each lesson is given by our own Pastor Nard. Your sins have been forgiven. All you have to do is believe it, and God will help you through your journey. You've traveled long enough without Him.
Today on Be Holy,
we're going to talk about Jonah. Jonah chapter 1. And how God gave him something to do and he did not do it. He didn't want to do it. And so he fought against what God told him to do. So we're going to talk about that and how that applies to us in 2024. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Well, how have you guys been doing? How have you been doing? What have you been doing? We've been doing a lot on social media lately. And that's caused us to do less of our full-length broadcasts, on top of getting the studio together and making changes in the studio to make it fit better, sound better, feel better. But we're going to talk about Jonah today. We're back today. We're going to talk about Jonah and how that parallels to us in this year and this time. Me and you, not just you, but me, and not just me, but you. We're going to talk about this thing. Jonah, God tells him, hey, go over here and talk to this group of people and tell them I see the evil that they're doing. I see the evil, and you go tell them what I'm going to do about them being evil. And so I see a lot of things in that. So let's just read this one verse here, and we'll start there, see where we get and how far we get. Verse number 2 says this: get up. This is what God said to Jonah. Get up and go to the great city of Nineveh. Announce my judgment against it, because I have seen how wicked the people are. I've seen it. And then the next verse says here, verse number 3 says, but Jonah got up and went in the opposite direction to get away from the Lord. He went down to the port of Joppa, where he found a ship that was leaving for Tarshish. He bought a ticket and went on board, hoping to escape from the Lord by sailing to a whole nother city. What's the city called? Tarshish. Now, I wasn't there, you weren't there, but that sounds like us even today. It sounds just like us. God will tell us to go left, we'll go right. God will tell us to go right, we'll go left. God will tell us to go up, we'll go down. God will tell us to go down, we'll go up. Trying to get away from him. Now, I don't think Jonah's a bad guy, because later on in the story, he was running because he knew God was going to change his mind about saving the people. He said, God's not going to destroy those people. He's not going to do that. But I'll tell him anyway. Well, no, I'm not going to tell him. And I'm going to get on this ship and go and do what I want to do, because I know he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. And then later on, when God says, what are you mad about? He said, I knew you were going to do it. I just knew you were going to change your mind, because the people responded to what God said. God said, I'm going to see you. I heard the evil. I see the evil, and I'm coming to take care of it. And so the people changed. The people repented. And so when you repent, God changes what he was going to do to you, or what he was going to allow to happen to you. If you change what you're doing, he changes his mind. You change your direction, he will make sure you be where you're supposed to be. He'll even protect you, even though he put the judgment out on you. Think about this. What if we all had to go to court and God was the witness? The witness going to tell the truth. God's just going to tell it all. Would we all be guilty? Sure we would. But unlike, natural court, if you changed and God can see the change in you, he'll make provisions for you. But Jonah did not want to go down there because he figured God was going to change his mind anyway. But that's not his call. And this is the part I'm dealing with. In order for us to go and tell the people, this is what God's going to do to you. This is what God's going to do. This is what God said. we must first find out if God actually told you to go tell them. A lot of times we believers, we think that just because we see a truth and we see what God has done to others, we run out there and just start telling people, God's going to do this, God's going to do that, but God didn't tell us to tell those people that. I mean, we mean well, but God didn't tell us to tell those people that. Maybe God told someone else to tell those people that. And because he let you see the truth of it, and he let me see the truth, that we run out there and just cut people down. That's not what God told us to do. He didn't tell us. He told us to be holy because he's holy. And if you notice, God don't run around telling people he's going to cut them down. I'm going to cut you 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 down. I'm going to destroy your city. I'm going to destroy your city. I'm going to destroy your family. No, he don't run around doing that. He gives us a chance to change. And my thing with Jonah was, instead of him going like God said, he went to do his own thing. But we don't even do that. We'll see a little piece of something and God didn't tell us to go someplace, and we'll go. Remember, I was telling you, it was like, if God tells us to go left, we go right. If he tells us to go right, we go left. If he tells us to go down, we go up. If he tells us to go up, we go down. We do the total opposite of what God says all the time. And he still puts up with us. I don't know why he does. I'm just thankful that he does. Just thankful that he does. And Jonah, God trusted him he trusted him with his words to go tell the people. But he didn't want to tell them because he was like, man, I know God's not going to do that. I know he's going to change his mind. And then I'm going to look like a fool, like I jumped out there and told everybody God's going to do this and God's going to do that. And then he doesn't do it. Now I'm the false prophet and I'm the one that they're going to be after. Well, as God told Jonah, these are not your people. These are not your people. Why are you upset? You changed your mind about, because I think God, he was hot. He was upset with God and walked off, and he went and got him some little makeshift shade or something, got some leaves and made his own little shelter so he could not be hot. So he wanted to see what God was going to do to the people, but the people's hearts had changed. And so God's direction of what he was going to do to him has changed. And Jonah went and got popcorn to watch and see what God was going to do to the people. And while he was putting up his little leaves and stuff to get his own little shade, God created a tree. The tree budded and everything. The big leaves covered him up and gave him shade during the day. And then the next night, the tree died. And so just like he was mad at God's people, or mad at God for changing his mind about his people or saving the people, he got mad about the tree being dead now. And God says, hey, you didn't do anything to plant the tree. You didn't water it. You didn't do anything. So what are you mad about? It's not your tree. Oh, what are you mad about? They're not your people. They're God's people. You're just being obedient to God. They're not your people. You don't own those people. And if you can change your mind about being, because when God made that plant form, that big old tree form overnight, just boom, it just sprung up. He was happy. And then when it was gone, he was mad. So God asked him, why can't I change what I think? Why can't I change my anger? Because the people changed. The people changed. I changed my direction. And that's all I've been trying to tell people for the last 20 some years. God is willing to help all of us. He's already set it up. He's already forgiven the sins. All we have to do is believe it and live by him. Live and do what he asks us to do and not run away like Jonah did. I'm not saying Jonah was bad. I'm just saying he was human. He ran to do his own thing. And that wasn't good. God didn't see it as good. We have to do what God says. See, y'all thought I was going to talk about the belly of the whale and all that. No, it's not about the story. It's the spiritual meaning behind the story. It's all about that. And this is only the first lesson on it. But when God gives us instructions, then we go. If God didn't give us instructions, we sit and wait for his salvation. We wait for what he has to do. It's his people. It's his world, his universe. So we don't have to run out and save everything. God is the only one who can save anyone. All we have to do is be obedient to him. That's what we have to do. Be obedient to him. And again, I'm not saying that Jonah was a bad man and all. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that he went on his own to do something else. He didn't want to do what God said to do. And you saw what happened to him. You know, he got on the ship and all that, and they had to throw him overboard in order to keep the ship from falling apart on the land, on the sea, because God had got the sea moving, and the sea was going to tear the ship apart that they were on, that they were traveling on, the very one he paid the ticket for. He paid the ticket to get on that ship, and God was going to tear the whole ship apart with the sea. And they had to throw him overboard in order to calm God's anger. See that? And on the ship, when everything was going back and forth, when the sea was violent, they were saying, hey, pray to your God to see if he'll heal us or help us and not let us be destroyed. And by the end of that, they were like, yeah, that's the God. He's the one that's responsible. He's the one that can save us. And we're going to throw him over. And please, Lord, don't put his blood on our hands. Don't let his death be at our feet. But they threw him overboard. And if you really look at Jesus, the same thing happened to Jesus. He was on the ship sleeping. And they came down by him. How can you sleep in the midst of all this the storm and this, that, and other? And he, peace be still. The same way he calmed the sea when Jonah was thrown overboard is the same way he calmed the sea when he was still on board of the ship. Same one controls the weather. Same one who can save our lives, regardless of what we were born into, regardless of where we've been. He's the only one who can save us. And if people aren't telling us that he can save us, we don't know. We'll go down with the ship. See that? We'll go down with the ship if the preachers don't tell us what God says. I, as a preacher, I'm supposed to remind you that we belong to him and we are supposed to obey him and nobody else. We live on this world and in this earth, and we live in this country. We follow the laws, we follow the rules, we do all of that. But when it comes down to hearing what God has to say, nobody else has to say anything, because God is the one who guides us all. He's the one in control, and nobody will ever be able to change that.
Well, how did you feel about today's lesson? Speak with us at beholy116@gmail.com. Share Be Holy with a friend, a colleague, or someone who needs it.
Connect with us today at beholy116@gmail.com. Your support of Be Holy is greatly appreciated. Simply text the word GIFT to 614-363-6133. And if you're ever in Columbus, Ohio, give us a visit. Come visit us.
Brought to you by the First Church of Christ Apostolic Way, a small church with a big heart.